Gets it to LeBron for three for the win. Yes! LeBron James at the buzzer!
Gordon cuts through. They go to Barrett. He'll turn and shoot for the win.
Bingo!
All right. Welcome to another episode of the NBA Max podcast. I'm Chris Driscoll. Joining me is Ori B from Hoop Social. How are we doing, Ori?
Doing excellent, Chris. Really looking forward to this. This should be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So I believe, so we do this in my own show called the Oregon Hoops Podcast. You can see it in my virtual background. Fluent made it for me. Every episode we do the number. So this is episode 5, and we list off a player who played, like, used to wear the number 5. So we are in the mood of my personal podcast. We're starting to get into like the late 60s, 70s, so it's start getting harder and harder. But however, since this is a brand new podcast, there are more names to kill. So, Ori, I'm sure you and I have like a very similar topic. So, who's the number 5 that you think about when you hear the number 5?
That's, as a Celtics fan, come on, man, right? Low-hanging fruit, Kevin Garnett all day.
Very, very easy one. Kevin Garnett is probably the best. Yeah, definitely. He's retired by the Celtics to number 5. Another big one is Jason Kidd of the New Jersey Nets. Got a couple other ones. I believe Robert Horry was one of them as well. Yeah. I'm on Basketball Reference, so I'm trying to scroll down as well. And then current day players, we got Paul Banchero, JJ Barea. It looks like that was in his later day with the Mavs. Yeah, that's awesome. And then my favorite athlete of all time. This is a basketball show, but David Wright is my favorite athlete of all time, and he wore the number 5. About to be retired by the Mets this year. But anyway, we got an awesome.
A lot about you.
What was that?
I said that reveals a lot about you. I'm not gonna lie. You must be one resilient fan.
That's for sure. Yeah. And I would say hopefully things will be different this year. But based on how many injuries the Mets have had in the spring training, it's going to be tough to. It hasn't been a good start to the season, but hopefully the killer lineup is going to make up for it. But we will see. But anyway, we usually have a panel of 4 or 5 guys. And so Ori and I were the only 2 that were able to make it today. 2 of the guys that couldn't make it are I don't know if you realize this, Ori, but one of the guys that couldn't make it is the host of the show, Tony, aka Sports Fluent, who's a big Lakers fan. And the other one that couldn't make it is Jalen Carter, who is a big LeBron James fan. So those are 2 facts. The third fact is, a third fact is that you and I are both Celtics fans. And a fourth fact is that the Celtics beat the Lakers last night. I'm not making any assumptions. I'm not connecting any of the facts. I'm just listing off 4 separate facts. I'll let the audience decide what their takeaways are. I'm just listing off facts. I'm not going to give my opinion. If you're allowed to give your opinion if you want, but I'm going to let the audience form their own opinion before I say anything else. But like I'm sure Tony's going to tune into this later, and I'm sure I don't know if he was here, he'd give us some snarky comment back. So, but like I could you're my witness here. I didn't give my opinion on this topic.
Yeah, we can let those 4 facts just sizzle. I will say, maybe it's one of those things where a little fear starts to build up. But let's just
maybe yeah, that's just a maybe. I just want let the record show. We're very excited to have them back. Yeah, both of them are out of town. So yeah, that is the actual reason why they couldn't make it. But yeah, we missed them, but we're happy that they're enjoying themselves right now.
He probably dodged the bullet. I mean, who are we gonna find?
That's for sure. Like obviously we're both biased, but however, I was I was very pleased with the game last night. Like even though for the most of the game it was a blowout, the Celtics were up big for the most part, and then it looked like they were about to choke it away. Then Lakers I believe to 4. And then eventually Celtics were able to pull away. Some of that might have to do with the fact that LeBron James got injured, which we'll touch on later. But Ori, what are your overall takeaways from last night's game?
The things that I liked, things that I didn't like, per usual. Just as well as I do that we tend to be a little hypercritical of this team despite their success. But I like seeing Jason Tatum get a 40-piece. I like the fact that he wanted to have a big game despite the fact that he was having a tough night shooting the ball. I liked Jaylen Brown getting a 30-piece. Anytime the dynamic duo gets theirs, it feels right. When Peyton Pritchard and Derek White go off for 40, like you go, yeah, that's how deep this team is. You're super
Yeah,
excited. But at the end of the day, we want our superstars going off like that. So it was something I like to see, especially, we know how this rivalry works. So any added pieces to it are great. And shout out Big Al Horford. I made a
Oof.
video on it. I'm sure we'll touch on it, but that guy, everybody talks about Curry, Durant, LeBron, all these guys, these ageless wonders, and sometimes he's left out of the conversation. And shout out Big Al.
Absolutely. Yeah, overall there was a lot to like about yesterday's game. Not even as a Celtics, not even as a Lakers fan. My friend Tyler Britton, aka Hoop Venue, he's been on my show before. He tweeted out the middle, the very beginning of the game. And Noah Dazell gave a comment about it as well. They just said like the Celtics Lakers, and I know like some people think it's corny term, like the Celtics Lakers aura is back. Like you could just feel it's like based on how loud the Garden was, based on how much LeBron, Luka, Tatum, and Brown, how hard they were working all night long. It was like a playoff game. And even just the fact that Tatum and Brown, they each played like 45 and 42 minutes, which people were clowning on them for. I'm saying like, oh, you're really going all out for like a regular season game. This isn't just a regular season game. This is it's Saturday night. It's like two teams that are like fighting for the second seed in their own conference. The Celtics are a little more solidified than the Lakers, but the Lakers are fighting for that second seed in their conference. And what else did you want them to do? Like, one thing that people were always complaining about, they're complaining about the ratings, they're complaining about how the players don't take the regular season seriously, and we got that exactly last night, but people are still complaining about Tatum and Brown going too all out. And that's one thing I always love seeing, is that both of our stars are two guys that are going to go out every single night and they're going to work their hardest. And that's exactly what we saw last night. Tatum finishing with 40, Brown finishing with over 30, if I'm not mistaken. Basically within the exception of like 2 or 3 games throughout their entire careers, one of them being last Friday. If both Tatum and Brown score 30 points, that's a recipe for success. They've won nearly every game when that happens, and it's awesome. So that's one thing I love to see, and yeah, and also like, yeah, just that's one more thing on Tatum. That sequence from when he hit the step back three on Luka in the first half, and then 2 possessions later, he just grabbed the rebound, went coast to coast, and then just threw it down with the second lap. That was awesome. Yeah, but to echo your point on Al Horford, Al Horford's known to be an Embiid stopper. He's known to be, in a way, a Giannis stopper, and now he's switching on to Luka with no problems whatsoever. So he's what is he? Is he 39? I think already. He's 39, year 18. And like I feel like one thing I feel like LeBron has done is I feel like that he's kind of made people like appreciate longevity less, because because LeBron's 40 and he's playing like a top 5 player in the league at this point, which we should appreciate. We should appreciate what LeBron's doing and everything about it. He's great and we should do that. But one negative thing about it is that we see how great and long Kevin Durant's been playing for. We see how long and great Al Horford's been playing for. Even guys like Brooke Lopez and Mike Conley, guys that have just been great role players for such a long time, guys that were all-stars at one point in their career, and then they've turned into like these amazing role players. Like, and that's what used to be true longevity is the show, is that you can play great for like a long time and then eventually be able to be the guy that can take a step back, which is exactly what Al Horford has done. And it's something that we love to see. And Horford, even though like his minutes have gone down a little bit, and like he's not really has a bigger role, he's still gonna be a guy that could step up in a big game. So that's been very awesome to see.
And that's exactly it. Like I don't mind the drop off minutes or anything, as long as I can see what still exists. And we got to take a peek at playoff Horford, I think, and that's exactly the version that we need when the playoffs come around. We get that guy. I mean, that he's such an X factor because he's evolved. Like all those guys that you mentioned. I mean, the best thing about them is they all evolved because they're all highly intelligent players. And they had to do what they had to do to keep their careers going. And Al Horford's just been a prime example, and it's hard not to root for the dude.
Absolutely. Yeah, but we talked about all the great things about the Celtics and everything, and how and everything positive, which is awesome. I guess like one thing that people can nitpick at for like a bad thing that people can look at is the fact that they had a big lead. I don't know if it got to 20 at one point, maybe a little over 20 it got to. I don't know how big it got to, but then they cut it down to 4. Their 2 superstars played great. LeBron also played great, but like not as good as Tatum. And Luka played awful in the first half, but then stepped it up in the second half, like more so steps it up in the fourth quarter. And the Celtics only won by like 7 points. So if that's one thing to look at, it's that the Celtics did play great, but they only won by 7. But I don't consider that a huge deal because obviously it is a little discouraging if your star players are playing great and you still lose. But at the end of the day, Derek White didn't play great yesterday. He not only did he not score a lot of points, he also got cooked by Luka a little bit in the third quarter. So I think it was just one of those things where like your two superstars played awesome. And it just so happened that like a lot of the other things didn't go well, including Porzingis not playing. So I wouldn't consider yesterday's game like a true indictment on Tatum and Brown needs to play awesome in order for them to win.
Yeah, I agree with all of that sentiment. And then, to switch gears a little bit, as a Laker fan, I think that you have to feel optimistic about what you just saw. Not necessarily about the LeBron James injury, but kind of as a game in whole, where the Celtics wanted to win that game, and the dynamic duo put on what they do, and they kind of weathered the storm and showed some resilience and showed that there are moments of cohesion that are starting to bloom. And the LeBron Luka experiments, there could be something really special there potentially. And they do have some nice pieces all of a sudden, it seems. So I mean, I feel like you walk away optimistic if you're a Lakers fan, maybe, and maybe that's just my foolish take on the matter because I'm a Celtics fan.
Who the hell is Goodwin? I saw him playing. I feel like I saw his name familiarized, but I saw him hit like 2 threes yesterday in the first half. I'm like, come on, like, what are we doing here? Like the Lakers, it's like another guy that they just picked up, of a 2-way contract, and there's another guy that they're just gonna pick up the street. Are you kidding me? I don't mean to disrespect the guy's name, but like we're in like the middle of a big game, like a primetime game. Two again, like I said, two teams fighting for the second seed in their conference, and I said between him and Dorian Finney-Smith, which again, like Dorian Finney-Smith is a great player. Like I'm not gonna disrespect him too much, but yeah, we don't have the worst 20 seconds of basketball. Like I don't know what 20 seconds he's talking about, but Dorian Finney-Smith also hits 2 threes I think he had 8 points in the first quarter. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be one of those games where we lose to guys like Dorian Finney-Smith, even though the defensive specialist Dorian Finney-Smith is going to be the guy that beats us today. But yeah, so like that was, it's like one of those things where like you see it from the Lakers sometimes. We mostly saw it from the Miami Heat, or even the Cavs last year, like in certain situations, but. There's always gonna be like at least one role player that just and a good one didn't go up, but I just saw it last time. I'm like we're really gonna lose to this guy.
Just enough that you please, the Lakers just acquired a top 5 player in the middle of the season.
Yeah,
I legitimately think they're capable of anything at this point. So whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, I did want to touch on before we moved on to the LeBron James thing. I did want to touch on Luka Doncic for a little bit.
Sure.
I made a video last night saying that Jason Tatum is a better basketball player than Luka Doncic, which I know is controversial. Like a lot of people commenting on it, but I think one of the So I really think that just if we're looking at like the big picture wise, and like when I rank my players, I rank them based on, if it's simple. If I want to win a championship, who would I want on my team? Mm-hmm. And if we're talking about a guy who can lead your offense to score a bunch of points, who can carry like a bad team, like a bad offense turning into a good offense, you probably want Luka as that guy. He's one of the best playmakers in the league and also one of the best scorers in the league. But at the end of the day, I just think that Luka has 2 massive weaknesses to his game. One of them being his, I guess you could say like one of them is like a mixture of 2 things. That's his inability to play for a whole season, and also his inability to stay in shape, which I know people like went at Nico Harrison for, which they should have, just because like that's not a reason. It's a reason to like rank some of the best players like high or over him, but it's not a reason to trade him. So, but like. Yeah, so like I think that's one of the things that holds him back, which Jason Tatum is the complete opposite of that. He's someone who plays every single game, and he's someone that doesn't run out of gas by the end of the season. But the second thing is his defense. We just saw they spent the entire game trying to pick on Luka. We saw like pretty much anytime like anytime like they tried to switch, like we saw Jalen go after Luka, we saw Tatum go after Luka, which is okay in some instances because like other teams that aren't as strong as the Celtics, like I'm trying to think of like a good offensive team, like if you want to consider like Golden State's. Like Steph Curry could only go at Luka so often. Just because like if Steph and Jimmy Butler want to go after him, like the Lakers can probably find a way to avoid Luka from guarding them. But like a team like the Celtics, they're going to be a little bit harder because of guys like Drew Holiday and Derek White could technically target him. But at the end of the day, Jason and I think like basically two of Luka's biggest weaknesses are two of Tatum's biggest strengths. So you really can't take Jason Tatum out of a big game for that. So again, while I think that Luka is going to be able to generate an offense, like he's going to be a better offensive engine. If I'm building my team to win a championship, I want a guy who's going to play a bunch of games. I want a guy who's going to play a bunch of defense and also be a great offensive player. Tatum has increased his game so much. He's a great playmaker now. He's improved his jump shot. Going into the season, I had Luka ahead of him, but like I think that Tatum has surpassed him.
Well, you don't have to tell me twice. I'm in.
You're
all in.
Yeah,
okay.
that's really unfortunate. Just because
I agree with you in a lot of those sentiments as well, because I think you said it perfectly when you said that the flaws in Luka's game are things that Tatum's the lead at, and they're big things. Availability. It's interesting to me. Within this first little tidbit, as Luka gets used to this Lakers environment, I started thinking about this conversation a little bit as well, because you mentioned how Luka could, essentially be a better floor raiser because of his offensive game, and I definitely agree with you. I think what Tatum is instead is scalable.
Right.
I think that Tatum, if you swapped and put Tatum with LeBron James, I'm not saying that they win dramatically in much more games, but I think that he takes more of the load because he's doing everything, both sides. 45 minutes. He'll do, he's just. I think that means something, and it's not like his stats are, way off. It's not like we're doing this eye test over stats thing either. The production is there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Tatum, if you just for like who's the better player right now, I think Tatum's the appropriate answer.
Yeah, it's yeah, like don't get me wrong. Like if you still want to have Luka ahead of him, I have zero issue with that. But like if I'm just looking at the whole picture, and I'm looking at and like the big thing for me is that like I'd much rather have a guy that could turn my good team great rather than a guy that can turn my bad team good. So it's just one of those things that that's like at that point it becomes a personal preference. So like that's what I believe in.
And that's so true at the end of the day, because Luka is, let's not pretend a unicorn offensively. I mean,
of course not. Yeah,
so special. So
yeah,
I mean, it really depends. I mean, that's why these things are so subjective.
Absolutely,
day, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this is where wish that Fluence and Jalen were here to yell at me for that take and totally pick apart one part of that argument and then make it the entire argument. So,
this show slanted a little Celtics-y. So, I feel bad that the Lakers aren't getting their says, but
that's okay. Yeah,
availability is the best ability.
Yeah. Some people probably confused that like they're watching an episode of All American Hoops right now. Just because you've been on one. So my brothers are also big Celtics fans. So they're a little confused right now, but that's okay because we will be moving on to the Lakers segment now. Of LeBron James is now out for 1 to 2 weeks. That's from a strained groin, which could mean a wide range of things because I looked it up yesterday. Which whenever I see a play like an injury diagnosis, I always look it up just because like I'm no doctor, but like but at the end of the day, like I just want to check to see what the range is because like every injury is different, but that's especially with the strained groin because I've seen I've seen 2 to 4 weeks, and I've seen like 6 to 8 weeks as well.
What are you doing? So these guys get injured, and you're WebMDing them, and next thing you know, they're out 23 weeks, and you're scared to death.
Yeah,
What are you
exactly,
doing to
right?
yourself,
Yeah.
my guy?
Yeah. I guess that shows you how how sometimes we're a little too locked into this whole thing.
That's gotta be torture. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, it says 1 to 2, but WebMD says 3 to 9.
yeah,
So
exactly. So yeah, but anyway, so
yeah.
so I tweeted, and I also tweeted it out like once it happened. So LeBron's 40, and you want to make sure that you don't mess with his health because it could affect things long term. But at the same time, you know that LeBron's like, as much as we want to believe that LeBron's going to be playing this way until he's 47 years old. Um, you have to acknowledge that like his window is slightly closing a little bit. It's not closing as quick as people think it is, but like we're not closing as quick as like we thought initially, but it's like still closing just a little bit just because he's getting older and older. So you don't want to mess with that. So you want to try to
he's 40 years old, and we don't want to mess with the long term.
exactly right. Yeah, is
Is that nuts that we just had to that you had to phrase it that way? And
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. Exactly. So it's just like an interesting aspect to think about because you don't want to mess with his health long term, especially for someone who's that old. But you also want to try to win while he's 40. So I don't know what they're going to consider because let me check who they're playing right now because so they're not playing today. So they're probably playing either tomorrow or Tuesday.
Yeah.
Playing the Nets tomorrow, so that's probably so Luka could probably win without them. Wait.
This you know what? If you're the Lakers or you're the Lakers fans, I think you got to look at this as kind of like, at least try to find the silver lining. And
Yeah.
I think the silver lining is right there in front of our faces in the sense that LeBron has been trying to give Luka the keys
Mhm.
and wants Luka to have the keys without, obviously stepping down. This number one, it's not load management. He's hurt.
No,
So no one's going
exactly.
to look at him poorly. And then number two, it gives Luca the opportunity to run the show and got to get a feel in his way.
Yeah, exactly. So for the next week, so today's Sunday for the next week until next Sunday, they're playing the Lakers tomorrow, the Bucks on Thursday, the Nuggets on Friday, the Suns on Sunday. So you got to think they beat the Nets. The Bucks, I think they lose that game, but like again, it's like this is just prediction. So, you got to think they lose the Bucks game probably, because they want to win too. Got to think they lose to the Nuggets as well, even though they totally crushed Jokic last time, but I feel like they're going to adjust pretty well. And then the Suns on Sunday, which at this point I'm assuming that the Suns lose every game just because I have no respect for what they're doing over there. But
you look at the standings, you're like, yeah, if that team had heart, they could make the play-in.
yeah, exactly. So, and then after that, I don't. Yeah, so like I'm assuming 1 week. But again, you don't want to mess with anything. So after that's the Spurs, it's the Nuggets, it's the Bucks, it's the Bulls. So, I don't know what their plans are, just because there's a lot of there's a lot of things to consider, but
Not the worst stretch of basketball to not have LeBron James, honestly.
right.
After
Mhm.
hearing that and giving Luka the opportunity to kind of dominate a little bit, maybe,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, maybe the combination of the two, this might be just what the doctor ordered come playoff time potentially. So,
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, I hate to use a doctor pun for a health thing. That was silly in hindsight, but
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to see for sure. I know. Yeah, but like I know you wanted to talk about the Nuggets Thunder game right before we dove into the Stephen A. Smith news or drama. So
yeah,
you want to give your thoughts on that game?
just a touch. I mean,
Mhm.
one game shouldn't sway an MVP conversation. You know that just as well as I do. But at the same time, you know just as well as I do how much narrative matters. And uh, I was impressed with SGA. I really was. Not to say that I haven't been throughout this season, but on that stage where Jokic just having that game, that 30-20-20, and like it was like, oh, he just set the bar again. Like Is he the MVP? Like MVP's 30, 20, 20? Like that's pretty ridiculous. And so then SGA has this one-on-one and, you know, does what he does and puts himself right back in the forefront of the conversation. So I mean, it's just this is an extraordinarily tight MVP race, is what I learned from this game. And I also learned that I want to see this in the playoffs again. I think that these teams are interesting. I know it kind of got away from Denver at the end, but I think these teams are interesting the way that they match up.
Absolutely. So, yeah, the Thunder were up 3, I believe, in the they were up 3 heading into the fourth, and then they won by 24. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so like you look at the box score, like just from the beginning, it wasn't as big of a blowout as people are saying. It was a 3-point game heading in, and it's just one of those things that the game got away from the Nuggets. But yeah, Jokic finished with 24 points, 13 rebounds, and 9 assists, with a steal, 3 blocks, 10 for 23 from the field, 2 of 10 from 3. That was the big 2 of 3 from the field, and also 2 of 6 from the line. So so those are 2 big pieces as to what got away from the Nuggets. But I almost feel like that the fact that Jokic did his 30-20-20 so late on a Friday night, it kind of gets away from his MVP race, because like you mentioned narratives. I feel like so oftentimes that people will base their opinion based on what they saw, which is what you should do. Like eye test is extremely important, but like we saw this happen to Embiid in 2023, where Embiid was already like kind of like the front runner for the MVP already. Like there was like a lot of narrative surrounding him, but then he dropped 50 against the Celtics on ESPN. And I forgot like who wasn't, but like it was like a big enough game to where like they didn't surpass the Celtics in the standings eventually at the end, but like they were close with them. But then Embiid dropped 50, and it was like and Embiid won MVP tonight. So like and everyone knew it at the time. So while I don't think that Shea won MVP today like automatically, I do think it helped his case, even though Jokic played a much better game on Friday night than Shea did today. So
I don't. I feel like this is the microcosm of the conversation. Is Jokic is doing ridiculous generational unicorn things, but SGA is doing he's doing what we normally require for our MVPs.
Yes,
he's not filling the resume perfectly. It's just Jokic is creating a new resume as he speaks. Like he's doing things without, like, when you say never done before.
Yeah,
like it's just a different level, in my opinion, and it makes it a extraordinarily difficult conversation.
It is a difficult conversation, and and we kind of dove into this on last week, and if I'm being honest, I definitely didn't bring my best argument forward for Shea. I feel like my response to the video they made today was my much stronger response, and basically like my biggest reason for SGA winning MVP is the fact that he obviously from a winning standpoint, being 12 games ahead of the other team is big. Doing it without your second best player for most of the season, doing it in the sense that when you're on the court, but the guy who is also the who's your third best player, who was your second best player all year long, when he's on the court and Shay's on the court and J-Dub is off the court, Shay's still at a plus 24. And when Shay's off and J-Dub is on, it's like only like a plus 1. So
That's fair.
yes, that's the big thing there. And while Jokic is an insanely high both floor and ceiling raiser, and while like the difference in points is bigger for Jokic than it is for Shea, just being at like a plus 20 something for Shea versus being at like a plus 12 for Jokic, I think that's a big enough deal to where I would put Shea ahead of Jokic, especially between the scoring and the defensive gap is
so
wild.
You don't think the assist gap, the rebounding gap, and the efficiency gap make up for that?
The efficiency gap, I believe that Jokic is only 2 points ahead of Shea for efficiency, so that's kind of a wash.
Okay, that's fair. I guess
for true shooting.
That's true. I was leaning more towards
the rebounds and assists.
And he like equals him for steals as well, I believe.
He does equal him for steals. Yeah, he does equal him for steals. So Yeah, so like I have no problem. Like I said this last week, I have no problem if you lean Jokic for that reason. But like I'm just looking at like from a bigger picture and just like yeah, so just seeing yeah, like this kind of leads to like it was kind of like the leading to this the discussion we had earlier of like caring more about turning your bad team good, turning your good team greats. Shea's turning his good team into all time greats. Like the Thunder are an all time great regular season team we're seeing now. The Nuggets are a bad team without Jokic, and they're a very good team. Sorry, bad team without Jokic, and they're a very good to great team with them. So, depending on what you look at, I can see either way.
It's going to be interesting to me because I feel like the people that say that SGA should win the MVP usually are the same people that think that OKC is still about a year away and don't put them in true contention. So,
right.
so to me, that says that like we're maybe raising the bar on Jokic to a level that's just too high, that is just too
Maybe.
astronomical.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to get back into this too much, but my main argument for this whole thing is just the fact that it's strange that like this guy has legitimately should have won the MVP the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And is arguably having his best season, most unicorn-like season right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going, nah. I
don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know if it was you or someone else. I feel like it may have been someone else that said like Jokic is having 5 MVP-esque seasons, and his 2 best seasons are the 2 years that he's not going to win MVP because you could debate that 2023 was his best season out of like the last 4 seasons, not including this one.
And that's exactly what could happen, which is interesting because it starts to become like that LeBron James, Michael Jordan thing because we all know that LeBron should have more, and we know that MJ should have more.
Exactly.
And they both have those stories of, oh, well, Charles Barkley and Karl Malone shouldn't have got it. And so, I mean, maybe this is just the way that it goes, and we're just going to have to live with that narrative-driven MVP award.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've known that like we know that accolades aren't always perfect, but like they are very like they are very important though. Like when you look back on history for sure. Right. So but like I do think that Shea's if Shea were to win this year, it'd be much more fair than Embiid winning in 2023. But so that's my thought process there. But but like there's 20 games left in the season. I don't know if the voters have already pretty much decided who they're voting for, which very well might be the case. So who knows if the next 20 games matter or not? But we'll see what happens though.
Just put up another 30, 20, 20, and people are going to be put in odd position when they say he's number 2.
Exactly. Yeah.
But anyway, we digress. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
We can talk about SGA and Jokic all day.
Yeah, 100%. Now, let's talk about what everyone else really wants to talk about right now, and that's the big news around NBA Twitter for definitely this past weekend, and probably even before that. Yeah, since Thursday night at least. So, just to offer context for everyone, because that's one thing I don't like about this whole story is that I feel like it lacks a lot of context. So, just to offer the bigger picture. So, obviously, everyone knows Stephen A. Smith. He's like probably like the face of basketball media. He's definitely like the most well-known guy at ESPN. About to sign a 5-year, $100 million contract with them. So, obviously, he brings a lot of value to them. Not everyone appreciates his basketball analysis. I'm not. If I'm gonna listen to someone's basketball takes, for insight, I'm not gonna listen to him. He's an interesting guy for sure. Like he's interesting to listen to, but however, he's not really someone.
To me, he's somebody that's like good at his job.
Yes, exactly.
You have to understand what his job is.
Yes, and I feel like that's also the same way with Kendrick Perkins as well. Like people were wondering why all those layoffs happened. They didn't lay off Perkins because he brings in a lot of the ratings because go on and say something. He'll say something disrespectful to someone. Right. Except like I do think that Stephen A. is I think that Stephen A. is like a little more pro player than people think. Like because like I think up until this moment like he was pretty well respected by like the certain players around the league. So like Stephen A. has always respected LeBron as a player. He's always talked about him as a person. He always had like the joke going around. where like I don't know if he still did it, but like he used to have like a funny segment where like whenever he would criticize LeBron, he would always make the producers put up LeBron, like breaking LeBron James is an amazing father figure, amazing role model. Like he's like, yeah, so he's all these things, but so like he always did that, like because like he always acknowledged like how great LeBron is, but all these things. So he always respected LeBron. But he was always a Jordan guy. Like everyone, it was like well known that like Stephen A. always respected Jordan more. I believe that he has a close friendship with Jordan too, because I know that when Jerry West passed away, MJ actually texted Stephen A. and asked and requested that he like released a message to the show. So yes, so we know there is a little personal bias there. Like based on what we see, I don't know if Stephen A. would ever admit to that, but like that's the mindset there. Anyway, now comes 2024, where LeBron James' son Bronny James is drafted by the Lakers, which many people, including myself, criticized it at the time as not fair. But like at the same time, everyone knows there's nepotism everywhere, including basketball. Everyone, not just basketball. So
everyone pretended they were shocked by the nepotism.
Yeah, exactly.
Despite the fact that it's prevalent, which was strange, but
yeah. I was more so annoyed at some of the people who pretended like it was justified though, because people said like because like, some people were trying to say like oh he's a great defensive prospect. Okay,
right. Yeah.
Like, that's me. Like when you're talking about how great someone's defense is after you talk about like no, he's not great at defense. He's just better at defense than he is on offense, which he was a bad offensive prospect. Which we're not saying he couldn't be a good, but like it's just that he was not one of the best players on USC, but he was getting drafted. So like that was the big thing there.
Sure.
Anyway,
and I hated that we had to like pretend it wasn't nepotism.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we were required to play like the sing and dance routine.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that it being so obvious and transparent, that was a weird look.
And like the whole Jaylen Brown was sitting on courtside of the summer league game with his girlfriend and someone else. I forgot who. And he said to them, he said like he's not I don't know if he said Bronny, but he said like very clearly he's not an NBA level player, and all hell broke loose, like talking about like oh, who the hell does he think he is? He's trying to be cool. Why would he say that? I'm like he didn't go on TV and said that. He was talking to his girlfriend and someone else about like a certain about like a basketball player. There's like and not for nothing, they didn't refute what he said. Like it was the most So that was the big.
Anyway, I'll let you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
about it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to get all the facts out there before like anyone gave before like we dove into like the full analysis. So anyway, Bronny entered the league. Hasn't really gotten much playing time, but for the playing time he's gotten, he hasn't really played well. He's gone to the G League. He has played in a couple of G League games, and has looked pretty good in those games. Even though there was a moment there, I don't know if it's still the case, where like they weren't letting him. He was only playing in the G League home games, which was a little strange. So like that's the big thing there. And then one night, I forgot which game it was, but Stephen A. kind of tore into LeBron and basically just said, "What are you doing?" He said like, I forgot what his words were exactly, but he said like, he basically just said like, LeBron, you're putting your son in a bad spot. You're setting him up.
Not to, but
go ahead. Yeah,
he was saying that he was put him in a bad spot, but by hyping him up, almost, like not to paraphrase, but like it was essentially by making him feel like putting a lot of weight on his shoulders. I feel. And unnecessarily.
Yeah, and this isn't as big a deal as like the internet makes it seem like, but like LeBron sent out that tweet last year, when like there was a lot of injuries going around, so like there was a lot of like G Leaguers coming in and playing in like certain rotational games. So he said Bronny is better. He said Bronny is better than half these guys out there.
Yep, and Stephen A. is checking the receipts, and LeBron is upset with that. Anyway, I'll let you finish the fact.
Sure, yeah. So all that happens. Stephen A. then goes to sit on courtside on Thursday nights. Who the Lakers play on Thursday night? Was it who was it? I don't even know. It's flying over my head now, but it was someone important though. So LeBron approaches Stephen A. and then says, keep Bronny's name out of your mouth, MFer. So And yeah, so Stephen A didn't say that on first take. He did, however, say it on his personal podcast though. So obviously, yeah. So obviously, from I'll give my opinion first, and even though I feel like we're gonna have a pretty similar opinion here. So do I blame LeBron for approaching Stephen A and saying that stuff? Not really. You're a dad. I'm not. So you're going to be able to offer more perspective on this than me. But so like you hear someone like you hear someone like say anything about your kid, you want to stand up for them. However, Stephen A made it very clear I wasn't saying anything bad about your kid. I was saying something bad about you. And he stood by what he says. Like, you're not putting your son in the best situation. So so like, while it might be the case, it's just one of those things where Stephen A is doing his job, which you want to say he's not doing it ethically. Maybe you have a good point there, but at the end of the day, like nothing that Stephen A is saying is wrong, and but also I don't know if LeBron is too wrong here too. So I don't know what your takeaway is that there.
That's probably a key takeaway. I like the way that you phrase that, where Stephen A's not wrong, but LeBron James may not be wrong either. Maybe this is one of those tragic situations,
Mhm.
but I'm going to disagree with that sentiment here because I think LeBron did it incorrectly.
Okay.
I think number one, I think if those were the comments that were actually, what, Stephen A, we can take everybody at their word there. And if those are the comments that upset LeBron James, then first and foremost, were you not understanding them? Like Stephen A wasn't talking bad about Bronny. He was in fact kind of talking poorly about you. Like, is there a misunderstanding there? And if so, shouldn't this be something handled behind closed doors? Like, I don't, as a father, yes, I understand wanting to protect your son. But there are also things and lines where you have to be really thoughtful because you're also showing your son how you should act in these situations. And to be quite frank, I think that something Stephen A said when I was, listening to his statements this morning, why couldn't you have texted me, man? Why couldn't you have called me? Why couldn't we have had this conversation at dinner? Why couldn't we have had this conversation in a different atmosphere? It almost seems, and I hate to say it, but it comes across a little showy to have to do it in front of everybody on the sidelines like that. Like, I didn't like the look a whole lot, to be honest.
I don't disagree with that at all, to be honest with you. And I know that some people are push back against what you would say and say, why didn't you do behind closed doors? People say like, oh, why didn't Stephen A say what he said behind closed doors? That's
Sure.
yeah, and that's an understandable statement. But however, it's
Stephen A's, it's his job.
Yeah, he's talking. Yeah, he's literally. Yeah, his opinion. His job is to give his opinions on scenarios. Which, if you want to say, like he took it too far with going at LeBron personally, I guess maybe you want to say.
Is this the first time Stephen A. Smith has done this with? I mean, like, I feel like Stephen A. Smith. He was a journalist who evolved into a shock jock. We all know that, but nonetheless, he's respected in a lot of scenarios and a lot of areas of the field, and as he should be. And I I I think that this is a scenario in which maybe the nepotism is kind of playing against him, where LeBron might be a touch sensitive. And I hate saying that as a father, but I hate. I mean, I hate coming down on him as a father. Like,
Mhm.
like, are you being a little too sensitive? It's your child, yada yada. But
Mhm.
at the
Yeah.
same juncture, like, with just the facts that we have, it comes across a little bit malignant. Like, it was a little bit too hostile for, like, I don't know. It seems like something that could have been taken care of in a much more sensitive manner.
I agree with that, and like I said, like I like yeah, like I totally understand wanting to stand up for your kid, but also when I turned 18 and when I was shipped away to college, if I got a bad grade on my test in college and my parents came, my parents came down. I say flew away. I literally drove an hour away from for college, but if my parents drove down the hour. knocked on my professor's door, like they would laugh in their face because like your son's an adult now, he can handle the situation on your own. And we see this a lot with players in the NBA, which you'd rather parents be overprotective than not involved at all. We all know that. Like, we saw this happen. Yeah, we saw people use that defense mechanism when LeBron was in layup lines, in his son's AU game, which again, we'd rather LeBron do that than not be present at all. But yeah, it's one of those things where part of being a good parent is knowing is like letting your kid be an adult at the end of the day and letting him be his own thing. As cool as it is that like your son wants to be an NBA player and wants to be like you gotta let him do his own thing at some point. So yes, so that's the way that I look at some of these things.
Sure, and criticism is part of the game. And once again, I mean, the only reason I'm saying the way that I'm saying is it doesn't necessarily feel like it was a direct critique on Bronny, which would have been okay still because it's Stephen A's job. But because a lot of this stuff, once again, boils down to like misunderstandings, I feel like you tackle a misunderstanding behind closed doors. You don't make a show of it. And that's the part that I disagree with how he went across. I understand the animosity, I understand the anger, but I mean, who am I? But
yeah,
I think there could have been just a more sensitive way to handle this whole ordeal.
One more thing regarding the scenario. Stephen A saying that Draymond Green isn't talking to him anymore because of what he said.
Yeah.
So it's just hilarious to me because so like when this whole new media thing started, Draymond actually brought in Stephen A to be like part of this. He believed that Stephen A had the potential to do this. He's like pretty respected by the players around the league. Which again, like no one's saying that he's like this basketball expert. Like like he's no Tim Legler or Richard Jefferson. Like guys that actually have played and know the game. But like at the end of the day, respected by the league. So Draymond knows Stephen A as this guy. And yeah, it hasn't been the best week for Draymond. First of all, he's cutting off Stephen A altogether just because of something that he said about his friend's son. Then also there's the whole thing with Karl Anthony Towns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I try to be as positive as I can, and as do you. I do not like Draymond Green. I think that he's a hypocrite. I think that he's extremely negative. Like all, like you can appreciate the way that he breaks down some parts of the game. Like he's
you can appreciate like his insight.
Yes,
at the end of the day,
that's what I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah,
just like
that.
Just like the way that he talks about Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert and Domantas Sabonis, and I'm sure there's other people that you can point to. He's a clown. Like I don't enjoy listening to him talk about other people, and like he's just so, and the fact that he didn't even apologize to Kat. He just said like. He said like, "Oh, I'm sorry, but like I didn't say that he didn't go to he didn't go to the game because of Jimmy Butler. I said what I heard. You know what? Just hold some accountability, man."
Yeah, narcissistic behavior, right? Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Deny, make it about something else. No, I didn't mean. Yeah. So
yeah, exactly.
And those are the type of people that drive me nuts as well. So I'm definitely on board there. He's not my favorite.
Yeah. We still got like about 12 minutes left. So I was wondering, if you, one thing that I mentioned in the pre-show was, there was the injury of Amin Thompson, which, I think, Shams tweeted it right before the show started. I think it was 10 to 14 days, he said. But yeah, the Rockets have been slipping off anyway. And now they're, so it's sidelined for 10 to 14 days due to a left ankle sprain. It looks like MRI on the ankle showed no structural damage, but Thompson will rehab and receive treatment for the swelling. So it won't affect anything long term, but I feel like Thompson's a pretty important piece of that team. He's like a Swiss Army knife. He contributes a lot. Like he doesn't offer anything to, like he's not like this lights out shooter, but I think he's the X factor of the team and it could really plug into anything. So they're currently. Yeah, they're either like a step behind or like I think they're like tied with the Grizzlies. I think something along those lines, and 3 games ahead of the Warriors. So like you don't have anything too much to worry about, but like at least for his time missing. But I don't really know what's gonna happen with the Rockets, man.
At the end of the day, I think they're just becoming, they're becoming what we thought they were, which was an overachieving team that's probably not gonna do so great in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the end of the day, that's probably going to be the notion that holds because, I mean, Houston's got a lot of young pieces. They're not ready yet. they still got to cook a little bit more. We
Mhm.
like these pieces; they're very intriguing pieces, but I think they definitely have to stay in the oven a little longer. And we're just kind of seeing the regular season wear down effect is showing us, truly who Houston is this far in their journey.
Absolutely.
I think.
I'm just interested to see because, yeah, as I mentioned, Golden State is 3 games behind whoever the fifth seed is.
Mm.
If they're yeah, it's 3 games. 3 games is a lot to climb up to make up for in 20 games. But I think if Golden State climbs up to the 5 seed, I would take them over Memphis or Houston, depending on who ends up as the 4 seed. Simply because like if you compare team to team, and not team to team, just because team to team, like Golden State's the worst out of those teams. But playoff time, it's about playoff time. I definitely trust Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler more than I trust John Moran and Jaren Jackson Jr. As great as Jaren Jackson Jr. has been playing this year.
Yeah,
Um,
if,
which
if,
which
you, if
which,
you have your choice of the three teams, Golden
yeah.
State, Memphis, or Houston, for example, maybe in the regular season it's the other way around, but in the
Mhm.
playoffs, it's Golden State you don't want to touch.
Yeah, and then how long is JJJ out for? Is it till I don't even remember how long he's out for. Is it till the beginning of the playoffs or is it the late? I don't even remember. But
I don't either.
yeah.
I assume it's
If,
going to
if,
be
if
towards the
if
end
we
of
had
the
more than
playoffs.
if we had more than 2 guys in the panel, we'd be able to get someone to fact check that
I
real
know,
quick.
right? We get a time man on here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, um, yeah, but I'm just interested to see because obviously if Golden State stays put at the 6th seed, they'd have to run into either LA or Denver in the first round, and
And that's just it's you know the one thing at the trade deadline that Golden State became was interesting
yes,
because I don't know if they improved so much as they became like a total wild card in the playoffs, where you're just like, depending on what we get from these three guys, he could beat anybody. Jimmy Butler, we get a playoff Jimmy showing, playoff Jimmy sighting.
yeah. Mhm.
This team is strangely good. So I don't know. That's why I love the NBA so much. I guess is
Yeah.
all this parity all over the place.
Yeah, because I was listening to Bill Simmons the other day, and they were saying like just imagine because we've talked about all year long how like the ratings are down and how the NBA is not dying, but it's in a bad place, and how they're in a spot where like they're always looking to grow. Which by the way, like that was those talks died pretty quickly when everyone knows like they signed like a massive TV deal, so like they don't have anything to worry about there. But as
Oh
far as
yeah,
it goes for
and
ratings,
internationally, people
yeah,
always
exactly,
forget internationally.
yeah,
Like internationally, the NBA is growing.
yeah.
Like so, it's one of those things where you got to just. I don't think they. I think the ratings thing might be a bit overblown.
It is 100%. Yeah. So, but like if you were if we were hypothetically looking at ratings potentially being a concern, you could
Mm.
see like, if the NBA, which I don't believe the NBA is rigged, but like if it were, they would definitely try to do it in the snare. They would try to do conference semifinals. Oklahoma City playing Golden States. We got like a nice passing of the torch. Steph Curry going head to head with Shea. Shea's obviously the much better player at this point, but
I
Steph is
like
more
that
proven.
though. I like that.
Yeah, Steph is more proven in the playoffs. Draymond Green going up against Chet Holmgren, two the best. Like Draymond, probably the best defender of his era, going against Chet, going to be one of the best of his era as well.
Oh, you're
Um, yeah,
spitting these narratives. I
yeah,
love it.
exactly. Yeah, Jimmy Butler versus J Dub, like just like two hotheads, kind of who like great who like rely on like tough mid rangers.
Yeah.
Which which like usually doesn't work out in the playoffs, but for Jimmy Butler it does, and maybe that can turn into another thing for J Dub in the future. Then you would look at the Nuggets versus the Lakers again. The Lakers have been seen as a team that just can't beat the Nuggets the past few years. You would obviously have Luka versus Jokic. Yeah, it's probably the two best international players in today's game. If you're not definitely the two best white national players at the very least. If you yeah, but like if you want to include, even if you don't want to include that, like if you want to say Giannis is like in that mix too, like just for international sake.
Sure.
Obviously there's a couple more narratives you can include. You can just say like two of the best, two like the top heavy teams in the league, like they're not too deep in bench. Everything there. Then in the East, you could have the Cavs versus the Bucks. You got like one of the best regular season teams of all time going up against a team that won a championship, which most of the team is broken up at this point. So that so besides Giannis and Lopez, I believe, maybe Connaughton was there. I think Connaughton was there when they won. I could be wrong, but you got Giannis. What was it?
I said still, but your point holds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but so Giannis versus Evan Mobley, two of the best power forwards in today's game. Even Brook Lopez, Jared Allen is a fun matchup. Just like just two traditional bigs, two of the best net centers of all time. Maybe not so much for Allen, but like potential net center of all time. Donovan Mitchell versus Damian Lillard, an amazing matchup. Just like fun. Who was it? Kenny Atkinson versus Doc Rivers, two like veteran coaches. Then obviously the other matchup would be Boston versus New York, which millions of narratives you could throw around there. Just like not even throw basketball out of the equation. It's Boston versus New York. It's gonna be the most fun. It's gonna be the most fun. Both gardens are gonna be loud every single time, and everything involved there. The only basketball thing I can think of is Porzingis going back to the Knicks, but like everything else is just insane.
Like inadvertently, just by you speaking the way that you were speaking and talking about those teams, you just got me so hyped for the playoffs, man. Man, they're going to be some fun matchups.
Exactly. But like I'm sure there's going to be an upset or two there, but it's like even if there is, like we saw the Pacers upset the who they upset. They didn't upset the Bucks, but the Bucks and the Knicks. They found a way to make the conference finals, and they found a way to make 3 out of the 4 games. They got swept, but like 3 out of those 4 games were extremely fun to watch. So,
and then think about the teams that the teams that are really scrappy and could pull some wild card stuff off, like the Orlando's and Detroit's of the world.
Yep, Detroit. Yeah, like and I feel like we just totally wrote off Memphis and Houston throughout our conversation, but exactly. So, obviously those are going to be a ton of fun as well.
It's like just narrative city and so much content. I just that's what makes me feel bad about a lot of these casual conversations about the ratings and stuff like that, because I feel like it gives casuals a bad view of the league. Those are the ones that are hearing this stuff, and I feel like getting their perception changed the most. And it's just genuinely too bad, because the product, I believe, is still very impressive. This is a great league. And we have tremendous talent top to bottom, and a lot of good stuff and high quality stuff here. And I really don't think it deserves the crap it gets, because some of these narratives about the ratings and viewership things, I think get stirred a little too much out of context themselves.
At the end of the day, like the biggest thing I hear about from the media is the 3-pointers, and I feel like there's more movement with the basketball than ever. I just feel like people found a way, because I feel like this wouldn't even be a discussion. Like if players, like if there was like as much movement as there is now, but they just shot the ball from like 2 feet close to the basket, which would be a worse way of playing basketball. So,
people act like it's some aesthetically grotesque, like it's a dumpster fire. You can't watch it because all they do is shoot threes, and they don't have no physicality. You've heard the tropes just as many times as I have, and they've become tiresome because you're diminishing what these players are doing, and I don't like doing that, because these guys are just, they put a lot of hard work in, and we're witnessing a lot of great players that maybe aren't getting the viewership that they deserve.
I'm not a guy to crap on other errors, but just watch a game. Just watch like a regular game, like in 2003. And there's a reason why the ratings were down. It was because there was a lot of post ups, there was a lot of missed shots, and there's nothing wrong with that. But like everything you're complaining about in today's era is like this. You could say the same thing about back then, except that there's more threes, which is not which in my opinion is not a valid complaint.
So it's people at the end of the day. It's generational bias, nostalgia bias.
Exactly.
Same things, because I mean, everybody, like, you turn on some random game, like you said, from 2003, 2004. Maybe you caught a Pistons game where they only scored 68 points. Like it's just this general glazing that all basketball today is worse than it was. Like that's just I don't like using the broad strokes like that.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So, Yeah, basically, just at the end of the day, the internet isn't. Yeah, don't always believe what you see in the internet, kids, because because watch the game for yourself and form your own opinions. Yeah, don't listen to all the trolls on the internet what they have to say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you know what? If we could tell you to do anything, anybody that's watching, it's just watch more basketball.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, but we're about to hit the hour mark. So, Ori, anything you want to say before we log off?
No, this was a great time. It's too bad that the Lakers fans weren't here.
Defend themselves.
But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I always have a great time with you, my guys. So this was a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed it.
You as well. Yeah, definitely one of my favorite content creators to mesh with. So yeah, definitely happy we were able to collab for this individually. So, but yeah, this has been another episode of the NBA Max podcast. Tune in every Sunday night at 10 p.m. to watch. Obviously, this is also going to be uploaded. This is also going to be on YouTube right after this. So tune in whenever you want. Also, subscribe to @SportsFluence on YouTube. Follow him on social media as well. So you can watch also my show, which is on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. All American Hoops. But at the end of the day, this has been another episode of the NBA Max podcast. And as I always say in my show, keep grinding, stay hooping. Have a great night, kids.
Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey man, call your mother.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
No, they lying to you. It's about the money.
Now you're more fluent.